Okay, everybody, this is my spoiler review of Everything Everywhere All at Once. This is written and directed by Daniels, and it comes from A24. And I always get excited when I see something from A24 because it's another studio that has a good seal of approval, like Marvel Studios or HBO, where you know you're getting at least quality. Maybe it's not always amazing, but it's not gonna be terrible, right? It's gonna have a seal of quality on it. This is starring Michelle Yeoh and Quan, who I did not know was in the film, which got me really excited because I'm a huge fan of his when he was a child actor in The Goonies and in Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. Really cool to see him as an adult acting. It took me a second to even realize who it was, and he does such a good job here. So I went into this movie not knowing anything. All I knew is that it was getting super praise and that it was a must see. So I kept my expectations at bay, and I was so happy how much I actually loved this film. And it's one of those films that's a complete game changer, and in a time when there's so much content that it stands out as very unique in so many aspects, and it really is a masterclass in a lot of different fields of film. In particular, for me, editing was the biggest standout. I mean, you watch some of these scenes, how they're edited, and you're blown away by what it pulls off doing that. And that you watch this movie, and while you're watching it, whether you love the film or just like it, you know how much effort was put into every single shot, every detail, every line. That is a movie that you're getting your money's worth, that you should see it in theaters because everything was put into this. There's not one little ounce of laziness to it. It isn't cheating. It is really real. And what I love about it being really real is also part of Daniels, them making this so confidently, meaning they let their humor really shine here. And I didn't expect it to be as funny as it was. I was laughing out loud a lot. And that humor was very strange, which I like. So I'm happy they were confident enough to do that, because that isn't the most popular type of humor where you're having hot dog fingers appear, which made me laugh so hard. I loved everything, by the way, with the hot dog finger timeline with Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis. That was something I'll never forget, especially the scenes when she's playing piano with the feet and then Michelle Yeoh puts her feet up to touch Jamie Lee Curtis. That was just comedy gold. And a lot of stuff like that happens in this film that's like completely random and weird, especially the whole Ratatouille reference joke, which is great because it's not even like a recent film, but it's still just hysterical. And they had the raccoon, so funny. And there was humorous moments that got the crowd to laugh out loud, like literally a roar, which I didn't even remember experiencing since like Borat 1 in theaters, where people were laughing that hard. And those two scenes really were actually, it was just a small moment, but when Evelyn actually wipes her grandpa's snot and puts it back in his mouth, I thought that was brilliant. And also when we get this fight sequence and these two guys literally have these big plugs coming out of their butts, hanging out of their butts, and she's fighting them while it's hanging out. I mean, the crowd was going nuts, just of laughter, how insane that scene was. So really, really awesome. Now, it's interesting, as I was watching the film, it reminded me of one of my favorite films of all time, 2001: A Space Odyssey. And what I mean by that is that it's just view of life, right? How small we are in such a big universe. I got that same vibe, and it really leans into that. And it's funny because they actually reference A Space Odyssey in the scene with the apes in this film, so you can see that there definitely was some inspiration there. But I love that they didn't go as bleak as that, in the sense of they were acknowledging this is the reality of the world, how crazy the world is, with this whole everything bagel symbolism going on in all the circles, right? Everything going from that worked really well, and that in the end they still acknowledge that's the world we're in, but it's better to address it by being kind. And that's what really worked for me, because this movie did the opposite, where so many films end with the big action scene at the end and then you fight the villain and you kick the villain's butt and use violence to win, where this saved all its action for the middle. So at the end, when you think it's going to be this big fight scene, she's actually killing them with kindness, in the sense, right? Like hugging them. You see all these people are hurting for something, and that being kind is the best way to go. And I like that it showed the husband wasn't naive, that he believed in being kind too. So that really was just a great message, and about how like real that film is, in the sense of its message, that this is how messed up the world can be, but there is something still to appreciate about love, about being present, about being kind to everybody, and even that the mother and daughter in their relationship, that they couldn't see eye to eye, but just being together was enough, right? Appreciating that, and that you're never going to have this perfect thing where you're totally synced, and that you have to kind of have just sympathy for each other. I thought was really, really just powerful. And even one of my favorite things was the Rocks, when they had the mom and the daughter as the Rocks. The first time we saw them as the Rocks was probably my favorite moment of the film, how quiet it was and eerie it was with the captions. And it was the most powerful scene, I thought, of the film, that conversation the mom and daughter had as Rocks, which is just crazy, but it worked. But that's what was really cool, was the blend of genres here, from comedy to action, a martial arts film. Like, the kung fu action was awesome. Like, those sequences looked amazing, and it was really exciting, but it was such a cool blend of genre because it was rapid fire with the editing, where it would go from serious to action to humor, and you just didn't know what was coming next. And I think that's definitely part of what kept you on the edge of your seat. Now, Michelle Yeoh's been being praised a lot, and she totally deserves it. Just spectacular here. I mean, everything she has to hit here, playing so many versions of her same self, but different emotions she has to play. And the main core of Evelyn just hits them all out of the park. So really cool to see that. And I like it had, meta references to her with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, but also to Ke Quan, with the fanny pack and having the technology like Data from Goonies. That was that love letter part of it to those actors. And even they brought in some horror in it, and some stuff that made me really into this film was really when the daughter first appears as this Jobu Dupaki character, and that moment when the mom's realizing that, and the fear she has, and that close-up on her, and again how it just shifts then to humor with the everything bagel being the metaphor, I thought was great. And of course, Jamie Lee Curtis, I mean, transformative part, and she just does what is asked of her and kills it per usual. So that was great too. And now, not everything is amazing to me here. I think the only thing that will bring my score down a little bit from being a 10, I want it to be a 10, but there was a couple things. I do think that, I don't know if this would take points off the score, but maybe it went too wild with the metaverse stuff and all of that traveling and verse jumping for it to make any sense to any audience. I mean, even a smart audience, it's a lot. I mean, it's almost just too ridiculous at points where you're kind of like, okay, you know what? It's better to enjoy this film was not even trying to understand all of that, I believe. So that's what I did. So I don't really hold that against the film. I don't think it was trying to make it to be so accurate or understanding, but I do think it could have been a little more easier to grasp for sure. So that was something that ticked me off a bit. And the bigger 2 points though was, I do believe the moment with the daughter and her hugging at the end would have hit harder if I feel like they just gave a little more time to the relationship with the daughter and her at the beginning of the film, where I don't think it was enough. I think it was still so distant for us as the audience to understand that relationship that it wasn't given enough time to really get it. And that took away from it landing so much and totally understanding what was really the weight of the conflict between the mother and daughter there. You get it from a surface level, but I wanted more. I wanted a little more time dedicated to that, to set that up, to pay off more. And my last criticism is, it did feel like the movie was stacking on endings, where it was like, maybe this is where the runtime was a little too long too, where it was like, it felt like it ended 4 times. And obviously one time was purposeful, where it was like a fake out with the credits, which I thought was great. But it just kept going in these moments that were like dramatic, like learning about the husband and him not being naive. Then it would do another thing and another type of ending feel. Like, we're just giving like, is that it? Is that it? Like, it almost played with your emotions too much, where it was like, okay, I feel like I've had my cathartic moment here, and the film. It kept doing endings over and over in a sense, which I wasn't crazy about, and I think that hurt just the whole pacing of the film for it to feel like a total masterpiece. But I do think, again, this is a movie that is incredible. So I'm giving it a 9.6. I loved it, and for me, it's definitely the movie of the year so far, for sure, and I think it probably will stay that way, and it's going to be tough to beat, but who knows. But again, editing, acting is just spectacular, and really humor for me here. I laughed so much during this film, which was a treat, and I was not expecting that much from this type of film. So I definitely recommend it for everybody. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. I read every comment, try to respond as many as I can. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss one of my movie reviews. I also do TV reviews and celebrity interviews as well. And please follow me at Steve Varley Show on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok for more of me. And I'll see you next time.